A dream. I saw a dream. A dream that wouldn't fade. A dream that kept repeating. A dream with no end. A dream that wouldn't end. Over and over again, many, many times over, repeating mistakes over and over, correcting them more and more, 1,000 times, spinning, 10,000 times, connecting, 100 million times, overcoming them, and before knowing it, losing count. Agony, terror, turbidity, ruin, hatred, madness, exhausted, shaken, twisted, corrupted, contorted, decayed, anguished, heart smashed to pieces. And yet, there was still a place I wanted to reach, and yet there was still a wish I wanted to protect. Even if no one knew about the endless tragedies that repeated over and over, I will not forget. Even if no one notices, only I am unable to forget. Even if the people I want to save wept, I still want to save them. So even now, I don't regret having taken that hand. If there was something I regret, it would be that I was hesitant and indecisive in taking her hand, and the frustration towards my own weak, fragile heart that I couldn't steal. Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering the ReZero Greed route, aka Kasaneru if. Now, if you remember in the main story back in Arc 4 and Season 2, Subaru rejects Echidna's contract. Well, this timeline, as you've probably figured, is what happens if Subaru accepts Echidna's contract. And things are very, very different compared to, the main story that we're all used to with Echidna's guidance. And yeah, I'm just going to do a quick summary of the story, and I'll give my thoughts and everything at the end. So yeah, let's begin. So the story wakes up with Subaru, waking up, opening his eyes to a brand new day, and he basically taps the crystal around his neck, and he's transported to a new world. Now, in this new world we've seen before, and it's Echidna's dream castle, the area with the sunny skies and the green fields and the little tea party set. And Subaru goes over, sits down in the chair and drinks a cup of tea, and across from him is Echidna, the Witch of Greed, of course. And they're just having banter with each other. Echidna's trying to flirt with Subaru, and Subaru really isn't interested. And, Echidna's protesting him to leave, and, Subaru leaves anyway. And Subaru basically returns back to the real world. But he can still hear Echidna's voice in his head because the black crystal pendant allows them to communicate with one another even while not in the dream world. And, Subaru jokes that he's going to take off the pendant whenever he goes to the bathroom, which Echidna obviously rejects because, Echidna is horny. Anyway, Subaru starts to get irritated with Echidna's constant belittling in his head, and he basically tells her to shut up. Just then, a knock on the door happens, and Petra comes in. And Petra is basically asking Subaru what the weather's going to be like outside, and, they just have a little conversation about stuff, and then Subaru leaves to go to the courtyard. Now, outside in the courtyard is basically a massacre, and the reason why it's a massacre is because two proud warriors are sparring in the courtyard. And those two warriors are Reinhard van Estrella and Garfield Tinsel. And Garfield obviously loses the sparring match, and Subaru goes over and helps him. But Garfield rejects his help. He's basically telling Subaru to fuck off. And he goes back inside to wash off the dirt his body was covered with. Reinhard, has a chat with Subaru, saying not to worry about Garfield and that he'll handle him, and that one day he'll come to accept Subaru. But Reinhard is very depressed, as well. And it's explained after both Reinhard and Garfield leave to continue on with their day. In the case of Reinhard, the reason why he's depressed is because Subaru went behind his back and manipulated Felt into leaving the Royal Selection, leaving Reinhard without a master, and then Subaru, sweeped him up for himself into the Emilia camp. So yeah, Reinhard's in the Emilia camp now. And in the case of Garfield, during a sanctuary, Garfield was never able to overcome his problems because Subaru isolated him from events. So yeah, that's why Garfield's really angry and just really depressed in general. Anyways, after talking with both Reinhard and Garfield, Subaru walks back into the mansion and he goes to see Beatrice. Now, if you remember how Subaru and Beatrice's reactions and just their relationship in the main story, how they're super close, they're always hugging and cuddling each other, teasing each other, playing with each other, and just genuinely happy to be around each other. Well, it's the complete fucking opposite of that in this if, okay? Beatrice hates Subaru, fucking despises him in this if. And she's in the corner, she's absolutely bawling her eyes out. She's just completely drained. She's completely suicidal. She doesn't understand why she's still alive, why Subaru even bothered to save her. And yeah, she's just completely done. She's just completely mentally broken. That's it for Beatrice. Subaru goes up to Beatrice and tries to comfort her, but Beatrice absolutely hates it and starts clawing and biting at his neck, causing Subaru's neck to bleed. And the reason why Beatrice is in this state is because, unlike the whole choose me situation that happened in the main story, Subaru just grabbed Beatrice and just left, basically. He didn't try to reason with her. He never, tried to understand her problems or situation or anything. He just packed her up and just left. And Echidna seems to think that, Beatrice will warm up to Subaru in time. And Subaru wonders whether he was actually that person. Just then, the clownish guy himself, Roswell, approaches Subaru. They have a talk about, the situation and stuff, and how Roswell and Subaru were going to continue helping each other with their goals, even though Subaru wasn't fully trusting of Roswell because of all the events that happened back at Sanctuary. And Roswell basically tells Subaru that Ram is in, a certain special bedroom with Rem. So Subaru goes to leave and he enters the room. Ram is in the room with him, but this Ram, just like most of the other characters, is also very cold and distant with Subaru. Instead of being harsh, instead of having harsh jokes towards Subaru and playfully bantering with him and making fun of him in a friendly way, this Ram is really polite towards Subaru, but it's not a nice polite, it's sort of a polite where it's very distant, very cold kind of politeness, like she's talking to a stranger. Anyway, Subaru tells Ram to leave him alone with Rem. And when Subaru's alone in the room with Rem, he basically asks Echidna how he can wake Rem up. And Echidna advises to Subaru that the best way to wake Rem up is to make Emilia the ruler of Lagunica by, getting the dragon's blood, because that would almost certainly wake Rem up from her sleep. After visiting Rem in her coma, Subaru goes over to Emilia, but he traps his finger in the door, and Emilia ends up sucking on his finger, which I thought was really cute. But it kind of stops being cute when you see what state Emilia is in. When Subaru enters the room, Emilia has completely cut her hair, and her eyes are crazed. And when Emilia sees the scratches on Subaru's neck, she immediately knows it's from Beatrice and starts to have a mental breakdown and frees the mansion. Subaru puts on a fake smile that he's practiced in the mirror to calm Emilia down. Luckily it works. Otherwise, if it didn't work, then Reinhard would have to come and Subaru would probably have to reset. Anyways, after all that's done, Emilia says she's going to study to be a good queen for the royal selection, and Echidna starts to belittle Emilia because, Echidna hates Emilia. And Subaru's really frustrated by this, but he can't exactly disagree with Echidna's bullying. Since it is true, Emilia is now nothing but a mindless doll that just does whatever Subaru wants. That strong, independent character that we're used to in the main story is just not here. Anyway, Subaru leaves Emilia, and when he's walking down the hallway, he starts to have a panic attack. He remembers back in the past about a certain grey-haired man who once considered him a friend. I thought of you as a friend, Natsuki Subaru. You wouldn't have thought that, though. When Subaru heard those words, he started to tremble. And the reason why is because those were the words of Odo Suin. Subaru knew that Odo's powers weren't, necessary for them to win the royal selection, so he basically let Odo go. But what he failed to realize is that Odo just wanted to see Subaru as a friend, and he thought that Subaru didn't feel the same way, so Odo just left. Anyway, Subaru runs back to his room, panicking, but on his bed he sees another familiar face, and the familiar face here is the sexy woman killer Elsa Granhirt. Now don't worry guys, Elsa is not here, because she's on some bloodthirsty warpath. As much as she likes to gut people, she is actually on Subaru's side here. Anyways, Subaru asks Elsa what the situation's like with gluttony, since back in Pre-Stella, they did manage to kill Greed, and they did manage to capture Wrath, which is the same as in the main story. And he also asks Elsa what the weather was like outside. Elsa, replies with, well, it was quite sunny outside. And then Subaru has one final request for Elsa. I want you to take that knife, and I want you to cut off my head. Elsa follows this immediately, and Subaru's head falls to the ground, and he returns by death, feeling sorry for Petra, who would have to clean up the mess. When Subaru returns, he has a chat with Echidna about his save points and whether they updated, and Petra knocks on the door once more. When Subaru goes out and talks to Petra, Petra asks him again, Subaru, do you know what the weather outside is going to be like? And this time, Subaru has an answer for her. The weather is going to be just fine, Petra, so you don't need to worry. Then, atop the meadow, the witch sighed. She knew that in Subaru's quest for saving everyone in this way, he would no longer value his own life, forcing suffering upon others. Return by death was a tool that even a witch who only desired curiosity and knowledge, she had the world at her fingertips. With this boy's power, it was all in the palm of her hand. And then Echidna says those famous words, "Ah, even so, why must love always fade?" So yeah, that's basically the end of the Greed route. Now, as I was, I brought it up like a few times before, and this is coming off the top of my head, so this is why I'm like stuttering and shit. I really apologize. Also, it's like late as fuck when I'm recording this. But yeah, let's start off. Subaru is just completely broken here. He's died so many times over like the littlest of things. And yeah, he's just completely mentally gone. And he's trying to put on like this facade in front of everyone by like smiling, but it's all fake. He's completely lost like proper emotions and everything. and he's just listening to Echidna's guidance, even though Echidna's guidance is not morally correct. Now, the main theme that I got from this if is that it's not like dark or gruesome, you know, like the Pride if was. You know, when Pride if, where Subaru's just this ruthless psycho killing everyone. This one isn't really like that. This one's more about mental, like, health and stuff. Because everyone in the mansion has horrible fucking mental health in this if. Because Subaru didn't help them with their problems. He didn't save them as people. Like, he saved them physically, like they're all okay, they're all alive. But they never grew. Nobody grew. Nobody, you know, became amazing. They didn't become powerful characters who could stand on their own 2 feet. They're just dolls now who just rely on Subaru. You know, we have Reinhard, who was taken away from Felt. Okay, he felt like he feels like he has no purpose in life. You know? Because Reinhard did really care for Felt. And because of Subaru's manipulation, he feels so out of place. Garfield was never able to overcome the trials. He never found himself, so he's frustrated. We've got poor Beatrice, who's crying her eyes out. She never found that special someone to be with. Emilia, again, was never able to overcome the trials. So now she's crazed and she just acts like a doll for Subaru. Otto left the camp. Like, it's just so depressing. Ram as well. Ram is like all cold and polite towards Subaru. It's just a really depressing if story. And yeah, and the ending as well is crazy with, you know, Subaru dying just to tell Petra the weather. I think that was the most insane thing. That's the most oh shit moment in the story. It's just like Subaru's too far gone. He can't fix everything now. Like, he believes, he has hope that things will get better, but they never will. Like, he just saves everyone, like, physically, but he doesn't save them mentally. And that's why this ending is a bad ending. And the main story is a lot, you know, better than this. Okay, I'm fucking thankful that, you know, Subaru never took Echidna's hand. But, yeah. I thought this if was amazing. It was really well written. And it did give me trembles. I remember freaking reading this if, and it did give me the chills. It did make me quite physically sick because, you know, these are all characters that I, like, love. And I love, like, their dynamics and stuff that I all saw in, like, the main story. And just in this if, how, like, everyone's so distant with each other. And everyone's so miserable, yet they're still alive. Oh, oh, God, it destroyed me. But yeah, definitely read this if story if you haven't already. You know, I thought this if was incredible. It's getting a 10 out of 10. And yeah, I think that will do for now. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I will record, you know, a lot more. It depends really on how busy I am. But yeah, you know, I really love the Greed if. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone.